Hello!
Hello!
We are here back with Cosmic Chats with Kelly Gores. Say hi to Kelly.
Hi, guys.
I don't really think I need to introduce this beautiful human being. However, for those of you who are not aware of the huge accomplishments she has done, I will minimize it because it would take the whole 30 minutes to go through all she's done in her life. She is the writer-director of the Heal documentary, which has phenomenal success on Netflix. It now is also a podcast, Heal podcast. So please go and support that. We're going to put all those details down in the description. She is a dear supporter of Aware Meditation Inc. If you see this beautiful blurry picture in the background, because I've not got my act together, there is a quote that she has kindly given us with her support of meditation. And she is big in having people help themselves in other modalities to bring the body back to restore and also help us cognitively be able to make the world a better place. She is a beautiful mama, a friend of mine as well. We have known each other from, let's just say, before. And I'm just going to get cracking and ask you directly, how would you describe the taste of a banana to someone who's never had one?
It's so hard. Taste of a banana. Okay, so it's like, it's a texture, right? It's like almost like if you put pudding in the freezer, but it's not fully frozen. It's just before it freezes. So it's like malleable, but still dense. And then there's like notes of vanilla, honey, and depending on how ripe it is, but otherwise it's very difficult to describe.
Do you ever have cold bananas?
I do. Yeah. I freeze the older ones. I'm a girl that likes a barely ripe banana, like hints of green still on I don't like a older banana. So when they do get a little brown and spotty, that they get too sweet and mushy for me. So I take the peel off and I put them in some sort of container in the freezer for my smoothies.
Well, bananas are big for people who have smoothies. And so far, we've had a lot of people who like their smoothies. And if you guys like smoothies, pop them down in the comments what your favorite ones are. While you're doing that, if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. We are building it up to help us help others, and put in the comments if you yourself have your own channel that you'd like us to support, and we'll go over there and give you a little shout out as well. So when did you have your first existential life crisis as a child?
Oh God, I saw this question. Oh my goodness. I don't know. This is a great question. I have one memory of, I think I was about 6 years old. My parents were leaving to go to Hawaii. And for whatever the reason, I thought I was going to die. And I just picture myself on the floor, cry. It was an out of body experience because I can remember this is how traumatic it was at the time. I remember myself like too old to be throwing a fit on the floor, but I was throwing a fit on the floor like, you cannot go. And thinking back, it might've been because I was pissed that they weren't taking me to Hawaii because I'd never been. No, I was really terrified. I really believed that they were leaving me and I was not safe and they would never come back. And it was terrifying. So that was like my first crisis where, the world my safe world as I knew it was shattered. Like my safety blanket was leaving me, I don't know if that's an existential crisis, but it was traumatic in its own right.
It had you change your perception a bit of the world. Did you view your parents differently from going away?
I think so. I think I was just, I was so mad that how could they leave me, in this care of a stranger, some, lady from Germany that was living with us. I don't think it was later when I changed my feelings towards my parents or my beliefs about their superpowers that I had placed upon them. That was more definitely like as I got older, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13. But at that time, yeah, no, it was just like, I felt, alone. I think I was an extension of them up until that moment. And then all of a sudden I'm, flailing on an ocean without a keel or a sail.
Do you remember much of the time when you were with that person and they were away, what you guys did?
No recollection. But I probably had a blast.
Yes, I was going to say, obviously not as traumatic. And when your parents came home, were you withholding love from them or just so excited they were back?
It's a great question. And I wish I could remember, I have one of those childhoods, like I remember glimpses and then there's a lot that it's just, a vault of, I don't know if it's weird. I wish I could just like go back in there and extract the memory, but, I'm guessing tapping in. I think that at that point, as kids do, we still had that ability to shake things off pretty quickly. So I'm guessing I was just really excited that they were back.
Now, you had mentioned there was a shift when you were a teenager. Let's have a look at that. What happened and how did your perception change?
Couple things that I remember. My dad was very explosive as a child. He was raised by a Marine Corps general kind of guy who had a bit of a drinking love for the booze. And so my dad was raised in that tension and that strict environment, and then embodied that and brought that into his parenting. Although he didn't have an alcohol problem, thank God, but he had, I guess there's something like a rageaholic. Like if you're a kid of an alcoholic, perhaps you can have rage issues because it's very hard to process all of that emotion. And so he had a bit of an explosive personality, and it was always intimidating up until a point. And I'm sure it was around when my hormones started, and when you turn 13, you just feel like more than your parents, and you just get very independent and everything. And so at that point, I started viewing him. It was odd because I became very bratty as a 13-year-old, like a know-it-all. And I was just annoyed that I was just like annoyed that they didn't know as much as I thought they had known. And then also at the same time, my dad was a pilot. So he'd be gone for 2 weeks out of every month, which was kind of a relief up until that point. I love him now. I mean, I love him, I loved him then, but I was like, he was intimidating. So I started to change my perception. I became aware that he wasn't a giant a-hole. He was actually just repeating patterns that he had been raised with. And what I perceived as anger was really hurt and pressure that he put on himself for like making a mistake, and so I started to have compassion towards him a little bit more, which was, pretty, from a young age. I started seeing like, oh, he just feels left out. Like he's gone for 2 weeks. He comes home and we're just like teenagers that are like, oh, don't want to talk to him. And he feels like he's missing out. He feels like he's left out and he's hurt. And then he's just becomes a little bit of an a-hole. So anyways, so I think that was it. It's the perception of like that every teenager has, that they know more than their parents. And then to where I viewed my dad as a giant kind of child who needed love more than the dictator that he had, seemed to be growing up.
So you were 13 when you had the awareness that he needed more love, or was that later, you looking back now?
It was somewhere between 13 and 15 for sure. It was young where I was like, oh, I get it. And I still rebelled, and I still like threw back all the things that he said to us. If we misplaced something or made a mistake or whatever, and he'd make some snide remark and, well, you should have put it back where you had it. The minute he made a mistake, I was definitely throwing that back in his face to give him a taste of his own medicine. So we became at war, but I attribute his, it made me very vigilant. It made me, the qualities that I developed from having a father like him, a giant 2-year-old, is, I became very vigilant. I became, I read people. I was an empath. I read people so I can give them what they need, so I could keep everybody at peace, because all I wanted was peace. And then I, developed a really sharp wit, because I was going to go head to head with this guy and beat him at his own game, So.
When did you become aware that you had heightened awareness of being able to read a room versus it's just how you survive and how you live?
Oh, goodness. I think that I became aware of that, my late 20s, after lots of growth and reading and self-reflection. And, we know each other from the acting world. And I think I started seeking out healers and conscious people and astrologists and energy workers and therapists, and, to remove the blocks that were holding me back from being the, free actor that I wanted to be. I was very self-conscious. I was very in my head. I was very people pleasing, trying to get the A, trying to do it right, which is not conducive to being an artist. And so with all of those healers and self-awareness and personal growth books, and, then I started to look back and go, oh, I see. A lot more awareness around the traits that I developed out of survival that are actually kind of, some of them are helping me, some of them are holding me back, and I have to let go of them. And also that, my dad is just a product of his environment. And so that, each of us need to wake up so that we can change these patterns and not pass it down to our kids.
I like the phrase wake up, right? From the nightmare of delusion, right? That we are running. In the Vedic Meditation Stories ebook, which you'll see a replication back there, there are true stories, and many of them are individuals who grew up with either alcoholic parents or themselves became alcoholic and learned the meditation and how it changed their lives. The stories will absolutely have your mouth dropping to the floor. They are not edited, not because I'm not lazy, but because I want that person's whole voice to be replicated when the individual reads it. We want all of their consciousness to come through and demonstrate that anyone, anywhere can absolutely have a shift in awakening, which changes our consciousness. So it's not a temporary change my attitude to be positive for a moment. Below that, we get, let's change my mindset, which is usually temporary and takes a lot of effort. Below that, the state of mind. And then below that, we get consciousness. And what we're endeavoring to do is help everyone have enough experience of going from fight or flight to the relaxation state regularly in a practice that's easily ingestible for them to do, portable. And as that occurs, we start to print out a different story into our consciousness. And as a result, we then start to respond not always in fight or flight, but from a place where we can discern, and we're able to make more creative, astute decisions that are honest for us and who we are. And that is far more profound than simply closing one's eyes and attempting to follow a beautiful guided meditation, which I do enjoy myself. But if we go down to the root and we can start to shift that, we have exactly what you said, Kelly, awakening. An awakening that changes our perception on the world and how we interact in the world. So would I be right in, I'll say the word assuming, originally you were looking at all these books to be able to get third dimensional accolades or goodies, as we say, to achieve a certain level, to be okay, to be respected?
1,000,000%.
I got the million.
You got it right. You got the A.
I'm the $1 million baby here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, for sure. I mean, even to the, I mean, I can't imagine that's the only, I'm even thinking of like, I've questioned this many times of why I even wanted to be an actress growing up, and seeing the Oscars and going, oh, wow, this person, Julia Roberts or whatever, the world loves her. She's so glamorous. She gets, to go on vacations. The world loves and adores her. Like, I mean, was that my only motivation to become an actor? I don't think so. I think I really always loved to be on stage growing up, even before I was aware of television and the business of acting. I love to play pretend and act things out. So I think that it came hand in hand. But I think, in that pursuit of personal growth, just like it's not one thing why I became an actor. I enjoyed the playing pretend of it all. I loved putting on different clothes, different cultures, different experiences, different characters. But the same with personal growth. When I read something, it resonated, such a good feeling and a truth. And I wanted more of that. But at the same time, I wanted to remove blocks so I could achieve the success, so I could have the financial freedom or the, respect and success in my career, so that I would feel safe and okay. So again, it was part resonant and internal, and it was part external pursuit of safety and adoration.
I definitely got a vibrational hit of the word truth when we watch a movie or we see something on stage, that we are literally hypnotized into an event that is exposing often a truth we may feel that we cannot necessarily express, or we recognize this is communing, right? We on a heart-centered level. And I know I had a moment of watching something on stage saying, where there's no truth, I want to see the truth. And my childhood, not too different. I had a parent who was on the flight crew as well.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I traveled a lot, and similar issues as well. And looking for truth where the household or the conversation was to not talk about that truth, right? We keep that in, and desperately trying to find a way to commune for the truth and stop the BS, but also hold it in at the same way. And acting allows that expression. We're writing about, Tennessee Williams is not talking about, rainbows and puppies, right? It's the struggle, the deep emotional challenge of being human. Same with Shakespeare, the ones that it's connecting to that emotional truth, our heart center, which is our humanity, where we ultimately connect to. And that was pulling you forward. And then the next level, looking into healing to bring about more truth.
Yes.
Right. And bring you present. Now, as a mom, have you endeavored to go deeper into self-healing, or has that been put off a little bit with having a child?
It's a great question. I think that when I was pregnant, there was this natural urgency to be like, okay, I just want to, first of all, your life slows down, because I was very nauseous my first 3 months. So I was, kind of cocooning a bit. And I just had this awareness like, oh, I better clean up what's left to clean up, so that I don't pass on energetically. I knew this womb was just imprinting my child and my environment and my thoughts and my beliefs and my diet and my stress levels. So yes, I think it definitely makes you want to do deeper work so that you can really break patterns. There's finally an urgency outside of yourself, because there's no real life or death in my experience. Thank God I'm not dealing with some life or death situation. But there's definitely the child brought more urgency. And then now, I think it's, it's a struggle as far as like finding time to do the deeper work and balancing being present with her, and then also taking care of myself. But I definitely see that self-care and getting enough sleep, keeping my meditation practice, all of these things, just at a baseline, I'm a much better mother if I'm able to continue those things. And now I've been working a lot recently, so I haven't had the time to just do the deeper work that I want to do on myself. I've been preparing for interviews and everything for the podcast. So in this month coming up, I am craving taking a deeper dive and really recommitting to looking at my patterns and looking at my negative subconscious belief systems that are holding me back and keeping me triggered, bringing things to light, where I am getting triggered about some sort of trauma or whatever that I have not healed. So yeah, I think that a child holds us accountable. If we're on this path, it keeps us committed on a daily moment to moment basis, because you want to be the best, most conscious out picturing of your work as you can, because you have this little being just soaking up energetically everything that you're doing for the first 7 years of their life. The brain is literally like a sponge, just taking in information and downloading your software programs. So yeah, I'm doing the work.
Beautiful. The first student I had when I became a meditation teacher was 6 years old.
Wow.
And they're still meditating. Do you have or encourage a practice for your child to do, for them to go inward and have time out that they create rather than being told?
Yeah. I am kind of doing it slowly because she's 2 and change. She's 26 months. So I'm very like, I explain that I'm going to go meditate and I need this time to get centered if she's having a moment or she's frustrated. So I'm kind of just like dripping it into her consciousness through example and also explanation. And then I feel as she gets a little older, she's just going to naturally want to join me or do her own thing. Because she literally just copies everything that I do. It's the sweetest thing ever. She gets her phone and opens my computer and she goes, Riley's working. And I'm like, oh God, I'm working too much. But she just, or if I'm doing my hair or like anything, she wants to wear my shoes. So I intuitively know that through kind of explaining what I'm doing and then committing to my practice, so she sees it every day, she's going to want to create her own version of that. And in the meantime, I'm just teaching her how to connect to her breath when she's overwhelmed with emotion and starting there.
Do as I do, not as I say, right? Beautiful. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing pictures of her for documentation, copying you when you meditate. Yes. I can't wait to see that. That will be so beautiful to look back on and say, see, this is how when you used to do what I did and you wanted to be around me.
Exactly.
So you have a huge empire that already you have created. What would you like to leave to make the world a better place after your body drops?
Oh, well, I do feel, I feel like I've contributed something in the form of the documentary that's helping people and inspiring people. So that's really feels good that I created something that's kind of has a lasting evergreen feel, and until the globe's consciousness raises to where that, heal is truly elementary. It's still really helping people right now. So that feels really good to leave something tangible behind. And then otherwise, just all you can do is hope for the people that you interact with. You leave a positive, inspiring, uplifting, validating, kind of experience with them. It's just moment to moment, people to people who you connect with on a daily basis. That's all I can kind of hope for.
Was there a place in time when the documentary came out and you are featured visually in that, that there was a little bit more celebrity that took some of your grounding a little off balance?
Yeah, I mean, I struggled with even putting me in the film. My editor and producer and I sat down as we began the editing process because we had the option of editing a new storyline without me in it. Very easily we could have done that. I was the narrator and the curator, but didn't have my own personal story in there. So, but they both agreed and convinced me that I should be in there, that I was the bridge of the film, but it was still very like self-conscious for me. I didn't want it to be about me. And I've never, I don't know, I would never, you're so sweet with the word celebrity. I just wouldn't, people reach out to me mostly just with gratitude or asking for help and guidance. I don't know. I've never had, I think it was more ungrounding, like making that, it's just self-conscious to like see me in something that's so important to me. I really just didn't want my presence to bring up judgment in someone watching the film. I really wanted it to be about the information. So that was my struggle more than the aftermath. It's like, no, there's no celebrity. Like, people are just either grateful. They don't even like, people will have been like, oh, I like come up to me and like, what do you do? And they'll be like, oh, I've seen that film 3 times, and they don't even know that I'm in it. You know what I mean? The information is so impactful for them. So celebrity is a stretch, but I appreciate you thinking.
Well, maybe next time we need to put you in a library background with your credentials and talking more with that. That is absolutely true. And what is your opinion with that status now of the better good was to put you in it, but coming from a place of it's bigger than me, I don't want it to be about me, and then through the process realizing that yes, that was the right thing to do, was to have me in it as well. What do you think that says about our society?
Oh gosh. I'm not sure I understand the question.
The principle and the message of the documentary that you, I'll say the word cognize, brought forth, was way bigger than you as an individual, is way bigger than you as an individual.
Yes.
So you had a chat about, I don't think I really want to be the center of it because it's so important to me that this is understood on a global scale. And yet the decision was, no, you should be there. And the result was, it was perfect because you were there. If we're in a society that will absorb it more easily with that person being there and the way social media is going, what do you think it says about a culture society that we will absorb it more easily if there is that figure there versus the principle of the teaching of or the message?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never even thought about it. I thought that, yeah, I don't know. I think that it says that, we need community, we need human connection, and we need to have that mirror neuron kind of experience. We need to have that somatic experience of like what we're watching. And it's just I think that, human connection bridges the concepts and makes it really relatable and real, is what's coming up for me. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like documentaries that didn't have some sort of hand holder walking through or a bridge, and I think it's just a matter of storytelling. But it's a great question. I think that, it just comes down to human connection, and we need to see that person going through something so that we can have that that experience of resonance and truth.
And we are doing this for those of you who are joining years later, not too long after the United States has opened up with COVID. And we very much became aware of needing human interaction and human connection. And the nonprofit teaches in person the meditation. So people do have that connection with someone right there in front of their face to be able to relate to. And it is very important. I too, when I started the meditation, did not want to have my face on anything, did not want to be a center point. Ironic though, because we see me doing this whole thing now, but it came about after people had told me, you are the glue that is bringing the heart into what this is. And that is what's going to get people. And that emotional connection through all storytelling, I hate the word branding, but that emotional connection has now been heightened through COVID. We've all gone through globally a traumatic or an experience none of us foresaw when we were growing up, maybe occasional scientist, but we've had an experience that it's very, very clear that human connection is imperative, not only for our mental health, physically, we need to see people, we need to commune. And even though social media has had the downside of it, with too many likes or the rise of narcissism and teenage suicide rates or depression, there is the other side of it, is we are wanting to emotionally connect to people, right? And if we have to do it through internet, we have to do it that way. If we have to do it through the ebook that Kelly has written a lovely sentence endorsement for, which is also why with my heart, I have those stories being so pure, because that's what we want people to connect to, because that is exactly how the world has changed. One heart at a time. That changes the consciousness.
Yes.
That changes consciousness to make the world a better place. Well, we've come to the end of the first part. We would love to delve more and have Kelly back. We will have a second part, which is a little bit more fun, fire questions. But we could go deep with Kelly again. So please share the love that you have for her and write any questions, and we will save them up for us to have part 2 with Kelly. And in the meantime, check out the podcast. All right, see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys.